Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. I realized I had been reborn. Right now, I was standing in a kitchen filled with smoke and sizzling oil, stir-frying food. Alex Young's arm wrapped around me from behind, his breath intentionally brushing the back of my neck. His voice was sticky, sickly sweet. Can you give up that job spot and let her take it instead? The university offered one spousal employment quota per faculty member. I was Alex's legal wife, but he said he owed Natalie's family and divorced me so he could marry her and give her the job. As soon as the words left his mouth, sizzle. Boiling oil exploded in the pan, splashing onto the back of my hand. I gasped sharply from the pain, but Alex didn't even flinch. He stood like a block of wood, all his attention focused on the next thing he wanted to say, to stab me in the heart. With your low level of education, at best you'd be a dorm manager, but Nate Grant can be a lecturer. She understands the rules, and is willing to compensate you with money. But for her to get the offer, we need to get a fake divorce first. I promise once she becomes permanent in 3 years, we'll get remarried. I clutched my abdomen tightly. The stabbing pain I had suffered from cancer before my death in my past life still haunted my memory, tormenting me. It hurt 10,000 times more than this burn. In that previous life, when I fell into despair after my diagnosis, I had wanted to ask Alex for help, but he didn't let me say even a single word. He cut me off, humiliated me before I could open my mouth, and spat out poison. Sophie, I'm already a university professor. Look at you. You've only got an adult education diploma. Is it fair to ask me to stay with you? Sure, you worked hard for 8 years to pay for my schooling, but now that we're divorcing and giving you the apartment, that should be enough. I'm married to Natalie Grant now. She's the woman who truly matches me. Please don't come bothering me again. He had security drag me out of the university and told them never to let me in again. In the end, I died alone in a dingy rental unit in the city slums. How foolish I had been, thinking that holding on to a man meant holding on to happiness. But how could happiness ever be tied to a man as cold and ungrateful as him? Click. I turned off the stove, rushed to the sink, twisted the tap open, and let the cold water run over my burned hand. I was trying to extinguish not only the sting on my skin, but also the searing pain buried deep in my memories. All right, I turned around and nodded without hesitation. Let's get divorced. Alex instantly froze. In my previous life, I had been sobbing in this exact moment, recounting how I'd spent the past 8 years working until my eyes were bloodshot, staying up all night, working overtime just so I could pay for his education and his mother's medical bills. In the end, he'd felt a flicker of guilt and taken me along with him to report for duty at Yundell University. But thinking back now, it all made perfect sense. Nate Grant was the vice dean. How could he possibly approve of a daughter-in-law like me? They had always been after Alex, not me. A few months after we started at the university, Alex was hired too. But the moment he joined, gossip started spreading that his wife only had an adult education degree. My background became a joke, and Alex became the punchline. We started fighting constantly. After every argument, Natalie would conveniently appear, always saying exactly what he needed to hear to feel better. Our marriage eventually fell apart. His voice now was dry and scratchy like sandpaper. You really mean it? He still hadn't noticed the redness of my hand from the burn. He just stared into my eyes, desperately trying to find any trace of pain or hesitation. But there was nothing. Absolutely nothing. I casually pulled out a napkin and slowly dried my hand. Why not? Don't you have money? I looked up and tugged the corners of my lips into a faint, sarcastic smile. Being a dorm supervisor sounds boring anyway. I love money, Alex. He nearly jumped from the words, love money. His fake composed facade cracked wide open, his face twisted. Natalie is the daughter of a professor. I owe her and her father a great debt. I'm just trying to. I cut him off sharply. Who doesn't love money? Just last month, I worked 2 straight weeks of overtime for your mom's medical bills. If you truly cared about loyalty, you wouldn't have had me suffering through night shifts while you stand here making excuses for someone else. Still, Alex tried to argue. But no, I stepped in closer, my gaze like a blade. Alex, you promised me you'd put me through school. You said you'd take care of me for the rest of my life. But 2 months after graduating, you're still sucking the life out of me. This job spot, it's your repayment. Every word from my mouth landed like a chisel on stone. I'm giving up the job and the money, but this opportunity is worth at least 300,000 yuan, and not a single cent less. Pay me and I'll sign. Don't pay, then we'll drag it out and see who gives in first. Alex Young's face turned a deep shade of gray, his feet rooted to the floor. I ignored him and dished out the wilted vegetables into a bowl, sat down, and scooped up a bowl of creamy fish soup. Taking slow sips, I let out a satisfied sigh. I raised an eyebrow and asked, "Aren't you going to sit down and eat?" He stared at me like I was some kind of monster, the light behind him casting a vague shadow across his face. No. Nate booked a room at the Liban Hotel to celebrate me locking in the job. It's all industry people. Oh, I replied without even looking up. Sounds nice. Don't forget your keys. If you drink yourself unconscious, I won't be the one picking you up. The air instantly froze. No crying, no clinging, no trying to mark territory. The idiot who once ran out into a stormy night to fetch him was gone. All the planned arguments, the expected soft coaxing, and strategic compromises, every bit of it fell apart. My calm resistance was more unnerving than anything he had imagined. Alex stood there like a statue, raging internally, unable to act. I frowned. The main guest is late. Not very appropriate. Alex grabbed his keys from the shoe cabinet and bam, slammed the door with a deafening bang, letting his fury explode in the only way he could. I looked down, poked another spoonful of warm soup, and thought to myself, it really is fresh and sweet. The clock struck 2 a.m. when Alex stumbled back in, reeking of alcohol. The moment he saw me sitting silently on the couch, the tension in his shoulders relaxed. A faint, almost smug smile tugged at the corners of his lips. He exhaled deeply, thinking to himself, Sophie's still the same fool who lives and breathes for me. Even if I come home drunk in the middle of the night, she'll be waiting here, pretending to care. Don't wait up so late next time. Just go to sleep early, he said, slurring slightly as he staggered toward the kitchen to find that ever-present bowl of hangover soup I had always warmed for him in our past life. But the kitchen was empty. The counter and stove were cold. The pot was untouched. The comforting warmth he expected didn't exist, not even a trace. His footsteps paused. He turned around suddenly, the last bit of false warmth on his face evaporating under the sting of alcohol and rejection. Sophie, he barked, his voice raised with the anger of being neglected. You've been home all night, and you couldn't even bother to make me a bowl of soup. I didn't respond. I slid the prepared divorce papers across the coffee table toward him. Who says I've been idle? This is the divorce agreement I drafted. Look it over. If everything looks fine, sign it. His voice rose in disbelief and protest. What do you mean by this? Didn't we agree it was just a fake divorce? Why go through all this? I lifted my chin slightly. The lighting in the room cast just enough glow to highlight the sharp glint in my eyes. A fake divorce certificate is still a real divorce certificate, isn't it? He was momentarily choked, then pushed the papers aside irritably. But we're still living together. We're still a family. He even forced out a half-hearted, comforting smile. I already discussed it with Natalie. Since she's new in town, she'll stay here with us for a while. Don't worry. Once I start working, you can relax at home. Just help Natalie and me manage the household. The more he spoke, the smoother his voice became, like he was drawing out some rosy blueprint for our future. Natalie even said, "Your cooking is great." She's looking forward to enjoying it regularly. Under the lights, the face I had once been obsessed with now twisted into the ugliest form. He actually expected me to serve both him and Natalie Grant. How could he say such things with a straight face? I gently tapped the papers on the table with my fingertips. Since we're getting a divorce certificate, you and Natalie Grant will also need to get a real marriage certificate. So, I looked straight into his eyes and spoke each word slowly and clearly. If we don't settle the division of my assets now, are you planning to let Miss Grant take my share when you two split in the future? Alex's expression turned instantly sour. Sophie, that's such an ugly thing to say. You think Natalie would care about our little pile of stuff? I let out a soft mocking laugh. Even brothers settle accounts clearly. If you won't sign. I leaned in slightly, my voice steady but pressing. Then I think that dorm supervisor job at Uniondale, the one you look down on, sounds just fine for me. Fine, I'll sign. He grabbed the pen in a rush, as if desperate to shake off embarrassment and entanglement. Without even bothering to glance at the contents, he scrawled his name across the signature line in a messy hurry, and slammed the pen down with a thud. I watched him sign without a ripple in my heart. He was so eager, so dismissive, so certain that I couldn't live without him. He didn't even notice I had written in the clause that he'd leave the marriage with nothing. After signing, he shot up from his seat, the stench of frustration and alcohol clinging to him. I've been drinking. I don't want to stink up the place for you. I'll sleep in the study tonight. It was his usual form of cold violence. In my past life, I'd been worn down by years of emotional deprivation. I was deeply insecure, terrified of even the smallest distance between us. Every time he said he'd sleep in the study, I would rack my brain trying to apologize to win him back. This time, I simply responded with a faint M, not even sparing him a glance. There was no apology, no begging, nothing he had come to expect. The room hung in a dead silence, and a few seconds later, humiliation twisted into rage. He spun around and stormed into the study, reeking of alcohol. Bang! The door slammed shut with a deafening crash. The water in the glass on the coffee table trembled violently. I stood and returned to the bedroom, locked the door behind me, and carefully retrieved the graduate school admission letter I had hidden away. Master's in English Translation from Shenzhen University. Under the soft yellow light, the paper shimmered faintly. Images from my past life flashed through my mind. Because of my weak academic performance in everything but English and Chinese, I hadn't made it into college after high school. My boyfriend at the time, Alex Young, had top grades and got into the prestigious Ocean University. His father had died early, and his mother had long been ill. Meanwhile, my parents were divorced, and no one gave a damn about my scores. So we agreed. I would work to support him through school, and he would repay me once he graduated. To ease my anxiety, he took me to get our marriage certificate as soon as we reached legal age. But in his senior year, he applied for a graduate program, so I kept working to support him again. Watching his education climb higher and higher, I constantly feared I wouldn't be worthy of him. That's why I started studying for an adult bachelor's degree while working, and even secretly signed up for the grad school entrance exam. In my past life, I had been overjoyed when I received my acceptance letter. I had held it out to him like it was the greatest treasure, only for him to sneer at it and toss both the letter and my excitement into the trash. A grad program from some no-name university. No one at our school would even look at this. Sophie, stop messing around. Just be my good little wife. That's the proper path. You hold the rear so I can charge forward for both of us. Charge forward. In my last life, he was the one who shoved me headfirst into the battlefield, into the pit of despair. I gently traced the embossed school seal on the letter with my fingertips. This time, I didn't tell Alex I'd been accepted because my battlefield wasn't in anyone's kitchen, and I wasn't going to live under anyone's feet. My battlefield was at the very university he had sneered at. I would carve out a future with my own hands, one that no one could destroy. The day of the divorce arrived. I waited at the civil affairs office early in the morning. Alex showed up with Natalie Grant. Natalie was decked out in luxury brands, and when she caught sight of my worn clothes, her lips curled into a subtle, disdainful smirk. "Sophie," she said with a fake smile, handing over a paper bag filled with the compensation, 300,000 yuan in cash. I took the heavy bag without a word. Natalie gave a short, arrogant snort. "If it weren't for Alex, you'd never have seen that much money in your life." My fingers dug sharply into my palm. I raised my head, my eyes cold as ice, sweeping over her. This opportunity was paid for with 8 years of my blood and sweat. I took a step closer. Want to see what happens if I shout right now and let everyone here see how the daughter of Vice Dean Grant bought herself another woman's husband? Natalie's face went pale in an instant. Alex flew into a rage. "Sophie, shut up." I chuckled coldly. "Let's get this over with." I snatched the paper bag, turned toward the counter, and walked over. We signed the agreement, pressed our fingerprints, and finalized the divorce. While we were receiving the certificate, Alex kept his eyes on me, clearly hoping to see a flicker of pain on my face. There was no lingering attachment, only relief. Natalie Grant quickly pulled a dazed Alex Young toward the adjacent marriage registration counter. They went through the entire process again. Natalie clutched the red marriage certificate between her fingers, beaming as she leaned affectionately against Alex's shoulder. I took out my phone and snapped a photo of the scene, something worth recording after all. Alex took the certificate and turned back to glance at me. His gaze was complicated, a flicker of guilt barely visible in his eyes. But more than that, there was a kind of resigned comfort, as if to say, "Sophie, it's just 3 years." He was already emotionally invested in Natalie. I smirked slightly like I was watching a play. The money's settled. That's all I needed. Then I turned and walked off, gripping my divorce certificate and the leather-bound cash bag tightly, my steps light and unburdened. That night, Alex came home to find me curled up on the sofa watching a variety show, looking as if nothing had happened. "I'm sleeping in the study," he muttered again, trying to use silent treatment as punishment. My eyes didn't leave the screen. Bang! He slammed the door behind him. The next morning, Alex saw my suitcase sprawled open in the living room. His face darkened. "What now?" "I'm reporting to Yundale with Natalie next week." He snapped. "Who are you packing for? Don't tell me you think you're coming with us." He laughed coldly. "Natalie and I are the legal couple now. What are you? You want the whole school to laugh at us? We'll send you the address once we're settled in, but let me make this clear. You're not to show up at the university." I calmly zipped up my suitcase. "Who said I'm going to report anywhere?" He choked on his words. "Then where are you going?" "Just getting out for a bit," I said, pulling the suitcase toward the door. I had booked the plane ticket to Shenzhen last night. I had the money. I didn't want to stay another second in this house. He stepped in front of me, frowning. "Haven't you had enough? You're just going to some resort to blow off steam, right?" I brushed past him without a glance. He grabbed the handle, brow furrowed. "What resort? When are you coming back?" His gaze scanned my face, trying to detect signs of a tantrum. "Haven't decided," I said with a slight tug, pulling the suitcase from his grip. "Just clearing my head. I'll come back when I'm ready." He stared at my unusually calm and distant profile. A thread of unease suddenly flared in his chest. Something felt off, but the habit of control built over the years quickly smothered that instinct. He assumed I was just sulking over the divorce and would inevitably return to this home. The tight line of his lips relaxed slightly. With a trace of annoyance, he let go. "Don't blow the money. Don't buy a bunch of junk. Just come back soon." The wheels of the suitcase rolled over the floor, letting out soft, steady thuds. I didn't look back. Behind me, his phone suddenly rang. He answered instantly, his voice turning gentle. "Natalie, ready for breakfast?" "Great, I'll come right down." After the call ended, he gave one last glance toward the now empty entryway. Whatever unease had stirred in him was swept away by his new wife's waiting voice. "She'll come back," he thought. I turned the corner, dragging my suitcase behind me. Inside were the thick stacks of 300,000 yuan in cash, and a bank card holding the 200,000 yuan housing allowance Alex had just transferred to me last week. The wheels rolled lightly along the pavement, grinding over the broken pieces of our 8-year past. 300,000 in cash plus 200,000 in relocation funds, 500,000 in total. 8 years of youth traded for 500,000 yuan. Better than the broken-down apartment from my past life that couldn't even cover its mortgage. I'd say that's fair. At the airport, I tossed out my SIM card. Goodbye, Alex Young. 6 years later, I returned to my hometown after being invited to evaluate a poverty alleviation program in Yen City. In one of the workshops producing local crafts, I ran into an old high school classmate, Ryan Gao. He lit up with excitement when he saw me, practically gushing. His eyes sparkled with a kind of admiration that overflowed. "Sophie, you really had an eye back then, holding on to Alex Young so tightly. I heard he's now a well-known professor at Yundale University," Ryan Gao said with admiration in his voice. I nodded. "Alex Young and I have long been divorced." Ryan froze. No way. At the last class reunion, when everyone asked him, he didn't say a word about you two splitting up. He curled his lips and shook his head. Landing a man like that takes skill. You don't have to distance yourself from Professor Young. My expression remained calm as I replied evenly. A woman doesn't need to rely on anyone to survive. We pave our own paths and the world naturally opens up. Ryan blinked. Ben gave a half-hearted nod, clearly unconvinced. I didn't bother to continue the polite exchange, and quickly turned toward another workshop. After the factory tour, it happened to be lunchtime. The government officials hosting us invited the group to dine at a nearby hot spring resort. I had a last-minute video conference and only joined the group after finishing it in the car. As I entered the resort, I was looking for the private dining room number that Sheol Wong had messaged me when a soft, clear female voice called out behind me. "Waiter, please bring us some long jing tea for this table." Because I had dressed to match the ethnic style theme of the day's cultural visit, I had unintentionally been mistaken for a server. I turned back and said, "Ma'am, I'm not." Before I could finish, I saw her, Natalie Grant. And sitting right next to her was Alex Young. Why did he look like he was in pain? Natalie looked me up and down, a wide grin on her lips. Some people take the money and run, and yet end up working as a waitress. Didn't expect that. Alex frowned, his expression laced with complicated emotions. Surprise, pity, and a faint patronizing trace of "you deserved it." "Sophie, you're here. Why not sit down and have lunch with us?" Natalie puckered her lips and nudged Alex with her elbow. "Alex, she's a waitress now. Is it appropriate to let her join us? What if she gets fined?" She turned to the others at the table and chuckled lightly. "Let me introduce everyone. This is Alex's ex." Ex. Such a conveniently vague word. God. I wish I had carried my divorce certificate in my bag, just so I could pull it out now and slap them in the face with it. "This Miss Sophie here," Natalie continued with faux innocence, "doesn't have much education. Not much experience either. Took Alex's money and disappeared. Judging by her look now, I'd say the money's probably all gone." A man wearing gold-rimmed glasses gave me a greasy once-over. "Being a waitress is an honest job," he said with a sly grin. "But can this beautiful waitress pour me some more hot water?" Polite chuckles circled the table. Who knew even educated elites could be this disgusting? I remained rooted in place, unmoving. The man's smile faltered. He slapped the table and barked, "Where's the manager? Fire this waitress immediately." Alex reached for my wrist, trying to calm things down. "Don't make a scene, Sophie. It's just pouring water. Apologize and I'll make sure he doesn't file a complaint." He thought he was helping. I yanked my arm free and snapped, "I'm not." Natalie cut me off. "What? You're going to say you're a guest here? You think you can afford this place? Being a server is not shameful. You don't need to hide it." The greasy man with the glasses pushed up his frame smugly. "All labor deserves respect, but you should be honest about it." Everyone at the table turned to look at me, ready to savor the embarrassment of a server caught pretending to be a guest. "Where's the manager?" The man grumbled again, clearly enjoying himself. Alex looked at me with a mix of disappointment and frustration, as if to say, "You're being unreasonable." I tried to help, but even I can't save you now. "Director Shen, I should have come out to greet you." Xiaolong's voice came from behind me. He approached quickly and gestured politely. "This way, please. Our room is in the Xingyan Pavilion." I followed him without a word. One of the women at Alex's table, a chubby lady, suddenly called out in shock. "Wait, Shira Wang. Secretary Wang, what are you doing here?" Shira Wang turned around, puzzled, to look at the woman who had spoken. "I'm Yuan Mei from the School of Media and Communication at Yundale." The plump woman introduced herself warmly. "Last time when you accompanied the party secretary to a meeting, I was part of the reception team." Recognition dawned on Shira Wang. "Ah, I see. Sorry I didn't recognize you at first. Today, I'm here on a business trip with Director Shen to assist with investment outreach. Let's catch up another time." Director Shen Yuan Mei froze on the spot. Natalie Grant's expression turned visibly awkward. Alex Young stared at me in disbelief. Shira Wang, still oblivious, looked around. "Wait, do you all know Director Shen?" I had already turned to walk away. I don't know them, I said flatly. Night had fallen by the time I left the restaurant after dinner. Just as I stepped outside, Alex quickly emerged from the shadows. Let me take you back, he offered, reaching for my bag like he used to when we were married. I shifted away. He didn't move his hand back, and his brows furrowed with frustration. It's been 6 years, and you're still this stubborn. You disappeared without a word back then. Now you won't even give me a chance to make things right. I almost laughed. Alex Young, you signed the divorce agreement with your own hand. You registered for marriage with Natalie Grant, and now you're standing here looking all sentimental. Don't you think that's pathetic? His face twitched slightly, but he still insisted. That was just a temporary arrangement. Natalie and I. He started to explain but was cut off by a soft voice calling his name. A slender young woman approached quickly. Natalie Grant. Her eyes flickered with unease the moment she saw me. She wrapped her arm around Alex's and leaned in playfully. I still haven't finished sorting out my promotion paperwork. The dean said it's due next week. Alex was momentarily dazed as if yanked back to reality by her voice. He looked at me, his tone turning urgent. Sophie, just give me a little more time. Natalie may have secured her permanent position, but a divorce now would impact her title evaluation. I gave a cold laugh and slowly shook my head. Alex Young, you don't need to explain anything to me. We've been divorced for years. We only got divorced on paper, he argued, flustered. 6 years ago, you said we'd get remarried after 3 years once Natalie became permanent. Well, she has, and we're still together. He tore Natalie's hand off his arm in desperation. It's not that we want to stay married. It's just that her promotion requires a stable marital status. I've heard enough. I cut him off. I'm already married. His pupils contracted. Then with a bitter scoff he sneered. You expect me to believe that? You only came back because you two are getting divorced? I raised an eyebrow. His voice faltered. Natalie tugged on his arm. Alex, let's go. We need to finish sorting those documents. He let her pull him along, but his eyes stayed locked on mine, still trying to find a crack in my expression. Sophie, you still have feelings for me, don't you? Unbelievable. I didn't bother replying. I turned and walked toward the parking lot. Behind me, Natalie's shrill voice rang out. She's just trying to provoke you. Don't fall for it. Alex didn't follow, but I could tell he didn't believe me either. Back at the hotel, I initiated a video call. The screen lit up, revealing a handsome, gentle face, his eyes kind, his lips curved, and a soft smile. Was the site visit productive? Lucien's voice was low and warm. I leaned back into the sofa, finally letting myself relax. Ran into a few people from the past. It was annoying. He raised a brow. Want me to fly over? I shook my head. No need, just a small thing. Is Nick asleep? I just got him down, he replied as he turned the camera. On the bed was a tiny, peaceful figure curled under the blankets. In his arms, he was still holding the plush bunny I had bought for him. Earlier today, he had been fussing and asking for mommy. I couldn't help but smile. I'll be out here for about another week, I said. Then we'll wait for the lady of the house to come home. After ending the call, I gazed out the window into the night. Peace settled quietly in my heart. This was what home was supposed to be. A place where no one demanded your submission or begged for affection. A place where someone simply waited, gently saying, "We'll be here when you come home." The next morning, I was working on compiling my field visit report when the hotel front desk called the room. "Miss Shun," the receptionist said. "A Mr. Young is here to see you. He said you invited him to breakfast." I replied, "I only cook one meal. He can wait." 10 minutes later, I stepped into the hotel lobby. Alex Yin was sitting in a booth, sipping coffee, exuding his usual polished elite image. When he heard my footsteps, he turned, a flicker of surprise lighting up his eyes. "Sophie," he said, putting down the cup and standing up, his tone softening. "About yesterday. My friends were rude. I apologize on their behalf. Can we talk properly today?" "Talk about what?" I responded coldly. He took a deep breath. I looked into it. "I didn't know you've done so well at Gentris these past few years. Your company's direct-to-consumer e-commerce has become an industry leader." He paused, and a touch of pride rose in his eyes. You now totally match me. I almost laughed. Alex Young. I stared at him, my voice even. I told you yesterday. I'm already married. He smiled with utter confidence. Don't lie to me. You came back because of me. Could you be any more delusional? I snapped, cutting him off. I returned because the government invited me to participate in a poverty relief project. I stared him down. Tell me, does your dear little Natalie know you're here talking to me? Or is it now that you see me doing well, you want to toss her aside and come crawling back? His eyes turned red, brimming with what looked like sincerity. It's not like that. The person I've always loved is you, Sophie. I regret everything. I should never have let you leave like that. No, it wasn't regret. He wasn't sad because he lost me. He was unwilling to accept that the woman he once dismissed was now far beyond his reach. Stop lying to yourself, Alex Young, I said quietly. Then I raised a hand and gestured to the security staff nearby. Excuse me, this man is harassing me. Please escort him out. I turned to the guards. Also, make a note of his face. I don't want him entering this hotel again while I'm a guest. Alex looked at me in disbelief. Sophie, but the security guards were already grabbing him by the arms. Just like in our past life, he was thrown out. Only this time, it was me who shut the door on him. He turned his head as they dragged him away, still in shock, as if he couldn't believe I had really chosen to walk away. My phone buzzed. Lucian had texted. Have you eaten yet? Nick says he misses you. I replied, about to tell Nick mommy misses him too. Not long after, my old high school class president somehow got hold of my number. He'd heard I was back in town and called several times, inviting me to a class reunion. Sophie, now that you're director, are you too good for your old classmates? Out of respect for our past, I agreed to drop by for dinner with everyone. But I made one thing clear. Alex Young wasn't to be invited. The class president promised over the phone that Alex wouldn't be there. On the day of the gathering, I arrived at the restaurant on time. But as soon as I opened the door to the private dining room, I heard Alex mid-sentence. That relocation allowance, just think of it as compensation for everything I gave. My expression went cold. Everyone in the room glanced at me with visible disdain. One of my old classmates, Chen Ling, who used to sit behind me in school, grabbed my hand. Sophie, Alex stayed faithful to you for 6 years. Where else would you find a man so devoted? I pulled my hand away and walked directly to my seat. What lies was he telling just now? I asked calmly. Was he saying I ran off with his relocation money? I unlocked my phone and pulled up the divorce agreement photo stored in my cloud. This is the divorce agreement he signed. It clearly states he left the marriage with nothing. Can you guess why someone as calculating as Alex Young still agreed to leave the marriage with nothing? It's because, I said slowly, scanning the room, he wanted to give his spousal job quota to his little protégé, Natalie Grant. And how could he transfer that job spot to someone else's name? Of course, he had to divorce me first. I pulled up a photo I had secretly taken on the day of our divorce. Alex and Natalie eagerly registering for their marriage license at the Civil Affairs office. I pointed to the digital screen in the background of the photo, where the date was clearly visible. It was the exact same day he and I divorced. They couldn't even wait a full 24 hours. Gasps rippled through the room. Alex's face turned ghostly pale. I glanced at him with indifference. His body stiffened. Then he suddenly stood up. We agreed it would be a fake divorce. Once Natalie got her permanent position, we'd remarry. Remarry? I scoffed coldly. Have you and Natalie even divorced? You left without saying a word, he stammered. I thought you weren't coming back. So it was only natural for you to go ahead and marry your little protégé, I cut in sharply. And now you're standing here trying to look all heartbroken. What's next? An affair? I turned to glare at the class president, who instantly looked flustered. He stammered. He said, you two had just argued and asked me to help patch things up. I picked up my purse and stood to leave. I showed up out of respect for our old classmates, and you used me as part of a joke. Class reunion, huh? Looks more like a circus. Behind me, the room erupted in outrage directed at Alex. Alex Young, you lied to Sophie and to us. Scumbag. Ungrateful trash. Alex chased me to the elevator. I'll go file for divorce right now. I pressed the closed door button. Your divorce has nothing to do with me. I raised my left hand and showed him the diamond ring on my fourth finger. I already told you I'm married, and you're not even worthy of one strand of my husband's hair. The site visit in Incheon concluded smoothly, though I'd had to deal with some truly disgusting people in the past few days. The project results more than made up for it. Our team had decided to allocate special traffic support for the local manufacturers. Once the contract was signed tomorrow morning, I could finally go home. Thinking of Nick waiting at home brought an involuntary smile to my lips. Suddenly, my phone buzzed violently. It was Sheol Wong. I answered. His voice was tight with tension, an unusual tone for him. Director Shen, have you offended someone recently? I frowned. What do you mean? The internet is blowing up. Someone posted a smear article accusing you of sleeping your way to the top. They're claiming you have no real education, and that it's impossible for a woman to achieve your level of success in just a few years unless she used her body. I froze. And it gets worse, he said grimly. They even claimed I had an improper relationship with you, and that this project was a result of me pulling strings for you. Absolutely ridiculous, he spat. You've built your company on real BTOC work. There isn't even such a thing as orders traded for favors. It's nonsense. He paused, then added with regret. The pressure from above is intense. I'm sorry, Director Shen. We've been instructed to delay signing the contract until this is cleared up. My throat tightened, words catching in my chest. I was invited back to invest, and now I'm being accused of sleeping my way in. After a long, breathless pause, Sheol Wong's voice came through again. Don't worry, we've already contacted the cybercrime unit. Our tech team is working full speed to trace the source of the post and identify the person who started it. After the call ended, I opened my browser and typed in Sophie Shen. The auto-suggested search terms hit me like a slap. Sophie Shen, seducing her way to the top. CEO sleeps with bosses for contracts. One was more vulgar than the last. It took no effort at all to find the original post causing all the uproar. Gentris Tech CEO's shady rise to power. The headlines screamed accusations. The post claimed I had exchanged myself like a commodity in order to dominate the industry. It mocked my adult education background as a joke. And most outrageously, it fabricated a string of fake foreign sponsors who allegedly handed me business in exchange for sex. It was pure filth. They even described deals that didn't exist, made up quotes, timelines, and claimed I had climbed to the top by spreading my legs. Anyone who knew Gentris would know it's a fully transparent BTOC platform. There were no special order exchanges. None of it made sense. But the storm was already raging. And the truth? No one cared to the public. I was just a woman CEO from a lesser-known company. That meant I was fair game, a perfect vessel for their twisted fantasies and repressed hatred. Behind the screen, those twisted faces were desperate for a target to release their darkest voyeuristic cravings and venom. Yo, isn't this that girl from Room 9 I called years ago? She's really cleaned up, even put on a suit and became a CEO. Real go-getter. Room 9, huh? Someone replied. I have a friend who saw her coming out of a hotel elevator with a black guy once. Damn, girls got exotic tastes. Jealous, another one posted. Women these days really know how to get ahead. Just open their legs and doors magically open. Real women know how to draw a line. Don't lump us together with that kind of filth. The vile words on the screen felt like thorns piercing into my eyes, stabbing into my heart. My phone buzzed again. I took a deep breath and pressed the answer button. Lucian's voice came through, calm but laced with urgency. Sophie. The way he called my name felt like a life raft thrown to a drowning person. Don't look at that garbage. I'm flying over right now. He paused, then continued, steady and strong. I've already coordinated with our contacts. Just now, LeCorp released an official statement. Tonight at 8 p.m., our live stream will feature an exclusive interview with the founder of Gentris Tech, Miss Sophie Shen. The live stream team will arrive with me shortly. Sophie will address this directly. Lucian and his team arrived in a whirlwind. The professionals immediately began setting up equipment and testing the stream. He didn't say much, just gripped my hand tightly. It was enough to steady me. Never in my life did I expect my first live stream appearance would be to respond to slander. The host sat across from me, composed but solemn. Miss Shin, there are malicious rumors online targeting your personal background and history. Do you have anything to say in response? I pulled out my first diploma and spread it open on the round table in front of us. The camera zoomed in. The certificate clearly showed a bachelor's degree in adult higher education. The comments flew in instantly. Damn, it's confirmed. Adult education, some trash degree from a diploma mill. She probably bought that with the same money she made on her back. Come on, adult degrees are a joke. Everyone knows what that means. With this level of education, she started a company. Must be some bedroom talent. I glanced over the chat feed, then calmly spoke. That's right. This was my starting point. You think it's worthless? You think it's trash? Then let me tell you, just to earn this so-called trash degree, I worked on an assembly line during the day, twisting bolts until my hands were numb. At night, I studied under the flickering light in a rented room until my eyes were bloodshot. While others were going on dates, watching movies, hanging out at malls, I was memorizing textbooks. This degree that you mock, it was the only path available to me at the time. It's not worthless. It's soaked in my blood and sweat, not in the filthy fantasy running through some people's rotting brains. New comments began to appear. Voices of support. Working during the day and studying at night. Respect. Adult education takes real grit. She got in on her own. Props to her. I placed a second diploma on the table. The camera zoomed in again. On the dark blue cover, the university name gleamed. Shenzhen University. I opened it. Master's degree in English translation. Sophie Shun. The tone of the chat shifted instantly. Wait, she got into Shanda's translation master's program. That's insane. Do you even realize how competitive that is? This woman didn't just level up. She speed ran her way to the top. Queen behavior. Period. My fingers brushed the university's embossed seal as I spoke, my voice steady and resolute. Founding Gentris was partly luck, riding the wave of the times. But during my years in grad school, I never let myself relax. Every single day, I studied deep into the night. I put in more than 100,000% of my effort. For all 3 years of my program, I spent my days in lectures and buried in the library. At night, I worked with my team building Gentris's business model piece by piece. When our server crashed at the worst possible moment, we stayed up for 72 hours straight fixing it. We slept on cardboard in the corner of the office when we couldn't keep our eyes open. Why did I push so hard? I narrowed my eyes slightly. Because we swore that Gentris would earn respect through service and technology, not through anyone's sick fantasies. The host leaned in, sensing the moment. Then, how would you respond to the accusation that you exchanged sexual favors for international business deals? I laughed, a short, sharp sound that cut through the tension in the room. Favors with who exactly? Gentris is a pure B2C platform. We connect directly to individual global buyers through technology. The person spreading this filth doesn't even understand our business model, and they think they're qualified to throw mud at us. The camera lingered on my face, calm and razor sharp. The chat exploded again, but this time with words like, exposing the liars with facts, queen. That laugh was lethal. Destroy them. You built it brick by brick. No one gets to take that away from you. And for the first time in days, my chest loosened just a little. The chat exploded. Gentris is a B2C company, you idiots. Sleep with clients for retail orders? Are you brain dead? She'd have to be nuts to trade sex for a $999 phone case. I studied overseas and bought a case from Gentris once. Fast delivery, great quality. Why would someone like Sophie Shin need to serve a nobody like me? The host seized the moment. So these accusations are completely fabricated, but facing such gendered malicious insults, do you have anything you want to say? Anger surged in my chest, and my voice rose sharply. What I feel is sorrow for the cowards hiding behind keyboards, letting their imaginations run wild from the waist down. In your moldy old script, if a woman succeeds, It must be because she sold her body. The degrees we earned from studying all night. The licenses we pass by grinding through exam after exam. The sharpness we bring to the negotiation table. All of it gets erased with one cheap phrase. She must have slept her way up. What exactly are you afraid of? You're afraid that women don't need to rely on you anymore. You're afraid that the chains you've used to control us for thousands of years are finally being shattered by us. The comment section exploded again, this time with tidal waves of support from women across the country. Damn right. Every time I get promoted, someone whispers, I must be sleeping with the boss. I'm sick of it. Rip their filthy mouths open with the law. Miss Shun, I stand with you. Preach, queen. They hate strong women who fight back. Sophie Shun, you're a legend. I straightened my spine and locked eyes with the camera. My voice was unwavering. The rumors have been cleared up, but the ones who spread them were not done. I will follow the digital trail and drag that rat out of its sewer. And every filthy word you wrote, you'll pay for it. The live stream lights faded out. A wave of exhaustion crashed over me like a tide. Lucian stepped in immediately to steady me as I swayed slightly. Sophie, he murmured, voice low and full of pain and pride. You were incredible. I shook my head. Just standing upright took everything I had, but leaning into the strength of his arm, I found balance again. My phone buzzed from inside my bag. I pulled it out. Shirao's tired voice came through. Director Shen, we've identified the person behind the smear post. He hesitated a moment before continuing. The IP address traces back to the Yundale University faculty dorms. My heart sank. I had a bad feeling, and now it was confirmed. The verified name on the IP address is Alex Young, Shirao Wang said grimly. And the registered WePost account belongs to Natalie Grant. Officer Wang is already on his way to the university. Alex Young. Natalie Grant. Turns out the rats in the sewer were old acquaintances. Just then, my screen lit up with another incoming call. An unfamiliar number from Young City. Driven by curiosity, I answered. Sophie, is that you? It's Alex, came the panicked voice. There was chaos in the background. Sirens, people yelling, footsteps. The police are here. They're taking us to the station. Please forgive me this once. Don't press charges. Okay, I know I was wrong. Forgiveness? How absurd. Behind his voice, I could hear Natalie Grant crying and a police officer asking coldly for her ID. Sophie, listen to me, Alex pleaded. His voice was frantic, incoherent. That post, Natalie made it. She was angry that I said I was going to divorce her. She blamed you. When I saw it online, it had already gone viral. I wasn't thinking straight. I was angry that you were so cold to me. So, I left a few anonymous comments. Just a few. They were nothing. Just venting. I didn't mean to hurt you. I swear. Just a few angry comments. A moment of poor judgment. If I hadn't been Director Shen, if I'd just been an ordinary woman, Sophie Shen, would he be weeping now, begging for forgiveness? My voice was eerily calm. Alex Young, save your remorse for the police. I ended the call without giving him another second. And just like that, the world went quiet. The next morning, as scheduled, I signed the contracts with several Yinchang manufacturers. Then Lucian and I went home. The moment the front door opened, Nick rushed into my arms, smelling of milk and sunshine, his little arms clinging tightly around my neck. Mommy, I missed you so much. I buried my face in his hair, breathing him in as if I could store him forever in my lungs. Behind us, Lucian wrapped his arms around the both of us, warm, steady. A few months later, Xia Wang sent a message. Director Shen, the People's Court of Yini District, issued the verdict today. Both individuals have been convicted of defamation. Alex Young has been sentenced to 1 year and 3 months. Natalie Grant received 2 years of immediate execution of the sentence. Yandell University has announced their dismissal. I set down my phone, my eyes drifting toward the family photo on my desk. The glow of the screen reflected in the frame, casting light on the smiling faces of the three of us. In this second chance at life, I had finally secured my happiness.